our State of the U.S. segment tonight, feminist poster child Linda Sarsour, the co-organizer of the Women's March, who is also pro-Sharia law, she has been given a public platform again. This time it is at the City University of New York Graduate School of Public Health, where Sarsour is giving the commencement address. This is troubling on many levels. Not only does Sarsour support Sharia law, she calls it reasonable. She also supports throwing rocks at cars in Israel and compared Zionism to racism. With me now, former IDF soldier and former NYPD officer Mika Danzig. Mika, good to see you.
Good to see you, Liz. Thanks for having me.
All right, what do you make of this? I mean, she has a public platform again, the commencement address. Not only does she not have the achievements that most commencement speakers have, I mean, she said some pretty egregious things.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, first of all, what on earth does Linda Sarsour and her, public persona campaigning for the normalization of Sharia law and for anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism have to do with public health? What accomplishments does she have in the area of public health that warrant her being a commencement speaker at the City University of New York? It's just
right.
That on it by itself is astonishing.
Right, and it's ironic to me. It's ironic to me that she's the poster child of feminism. I want to show one of her tweets on the screen. She's talking about Sharia law here. She actually says Sharia law is reasonable. Once you read into the details, it makes a lot of sense. People just know the basics. Mika, I mean, I can't think of any ideology around the world that is more oppressive, that is more awful to women than Sharia law. And this woman, who's pretending to be a feminist, she's actually propped up by feminists around our country, says it's reasonable.
It is astonishing. Ayaan Hirsi Ali, who has been a strong advocate for actual women's rights, in particular in the countries where women's rights are the most oppressed, and those are countries where the radical Islam and Sharia have taken hold, has said that Linda Sarsour is far from a true feminist, far from a person who actually cares about universal human rights. She is an apologist and an obfuscator for Sharia. And if she says Sharia law is good when you look into it, what does she mean by that? Does she mean that in Saudi Arabia, where Sharia law is implemented and a male can be killed for engaging in homosexual sex, that's something good when you look into it? Or or in Iran, where Sharia law has been implemented and women's rights have been completely subject to the whims of men, and women can't, for example, get a divorce from a man? I mean, what part of Sharia law is she saying is, quote, reasonable?
Right. I mean, it's a great question. This is another tweet I want to show. This is when she's talking about Saudi Arabia here. Because Saudi Arabia, there is egregious women's rights violations, human rights violations in Saudi Arabia. This is what she says. She says, 10 weeks of paid maternity leave in Saudi Arabia. Yes, paid. And you're worrying about women driving. Puts us to shame here. So it seems that she cares more about the fact that she gets paid for not doing work here after she has a baby than she does women being deprived their basic rights that men are also allowed. I mean, it's mind-boggling to me. Her logic is just non-existent.
And again, promoting Sharia law this way is insidious. There's a joke that people talk about in Israel, and it's that more women in Israel fly F-15s than drive in Saudi Arabia. And that's a sad truth.
Right.
I mean, so the notion that we want to hold out Sharia law as something positive because in Saudi Arabia they give the few women who are allowed to work there 10 weeks of maternity leave is beyond laughable. In Saudi Arabia, it's also the case that a woman who doesn't dress modestly can be flogged, that she can go to jail. It's also the case that under Sharia law in Saudi Arabia, the religious police forced a group of girls to go back into a burning building because they fled the burning building in their gym clothes, and those girls drowned. Is that an aspect of Sharia law that Linda Sarsour wants to promote? Is that women's rights that Linda Sarsour wants to promote? Again, how can this person who says she essentially wants Israel to be eliminated as a state, who apologizes for and lies in order to promote a Sharia in this country, how could she be a commencement speaker at a publicly funded university in the city of New York? It's astounding.
Right, and I would just like to add one thing. I mean, publicly funded, that's your money, that's my money, that's New Yorkers' money, that's Americans' money paying for that. We're funding this woman speaking. at this university. This woman that promotes Sharia law, that ignores all the egregious human rights violations that come along with countries who implement Sharia law. And by the way, one of feminists, favorite talking points is, get the Bible out of my body, the separation of church and state. When it comes to Sharia law, there is no separation of church and state. Linda Sarsour wouldn't be allowed to speak. She wouldn't have been allowed to even march in the streets of Washington without the permission of her patriarchal guardian, or whatever they want to call it in Sharia law, if Sharia law were actually law in our country.
That's exactly right. And again, the fact that she's invited to speak at a city university like this, it just shows the normalization of anti-Semitism, of radicalism that's taking place in our universities, and why universities have become a hostile place for Jews and for Zionists, for people who are pro-Israel. It's very difficult right now to be a pro-Israel, openly Jewish student in most universities in America right now because of the normalization of the hate espoused by people like Linda Sarsour.
Well, yeah, listen to even what she said. She said that there's really no room in feminism for anyone who is pro-Israel. I can't even, when I heard that, I was like, what? Are you serious? What about these women in Israel that fight for their life? They not only serve in the armed forces in Israel, they are forced to flee rocket attacks. They are stabbed. There was that little girl you and I spoke about several months ago who was killed in her bed while she was sleeping by a Palestinian terrorist. The Palestinians then celebrated that. What about these women? Aren't they worth standing up for?
Exactly. And for Linda Sarsour to say, and she's tweeted this, that she wants Israel eliminated as a state. She's tweeted that there's, quote, nothing creepier than Zionism. All Zionism means is that you are for the self-determination and sovereignty of the Jewish people in their indigenous homeland. That's something there's nothing in her mind creepier than that. So again, things we've been talking about, terrorism, women being persecuted, the massacre of Yazidis, everything horrible that's been happening throughout the Middle East outside of Israel, right? The one democracy in the entire region. That to her is not as creepy as the right of the Jewish people to have self-determination and sovereignty in their indigenous homeland. And this is the kind of person that the City University of New York deems fit to provide a commencement address.
Right. Not just the university, but this is the type of woman. This is the woman that right now feminists are propping up as their poster child. Not someone I would want representing my autonomy or my independence. Mika.